All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of a tournament report from Surge to Hit. Just a quick reminder before we get into it, join up on our giveaway. It is ending the day that this video is going to be posted. It is going to be ending later that day, October 21st, so make sure you sign up beforehand. The winner will be announced later in the following week. But without further ado, let's get into the list I brought to this tournament at the Fortress of Gaming in Albany, New York. So, first of all, it was an Empire list. The leader of this army was Palpatine, along with a generic Imperial officer. If we go back up, if we go back down, you see we have Bossk as our sole operative. We're going to have 3 units of Stormtroopers, and then 3 units of Imperial Royal Guards. Now, the way each of these guys was kitted out, Emperor Palpatine was equipped with Anger, Burst of Speed, and also Force Barrier, no command slot. The ruthless commander, the Imperial officer, had improvised orders, for some better order control in this list. Bossk had Hunter, and he had targeting scopes to, generate more aims, especially on multiple wound targets, and be able to roll more dice, because if you guys have ever played Bossk, he loves his aims. The Stormtroopers, 1 unit had the FX9 medical droid, and then the other 2 units had the electro binoculars to provide aims for Bossk, while the medical droid was to either heal Palpatine or to potentially heal up a Royal Guard unit if they needed it. Then we had 3 units of Royal Guards. 1 of them had the Electro Staff, along with Tenacity, and that served as my, more like frontline, get in your face unit, because, they had 4 guys, so 8 black dice at range 2 with their pistols, and then a very hefty melee that was good against any Pierce melee units. Next, we had 2 units of identical Imperial Royal Guards. Each of them had Protector, and each of them had the Electro Binoculars. This list came to a total of 796, and it was an absolute joy to play. Yeah, there's a list. So here's the list. It was a lot of fun to play. But without further ado, let's get into the round 1 game that I had at this tournament. Okay, so this is a round 1 game on a more like a foresty map. You can see if we just zoom in, we had the Long March, minefields, and hostage exchange for our objective. Now, I had the side you're on is my perspective, so this is my area, and then the other side is the other perspective. What happened was that he picked the middle of the map was actually more favorable towards me, because, well, this gigantic tree you see right here kind of blocked off part of the map. The fleet troopers was what my opponent picked for his deployment, for his hostage, and then I picked one of the Stormtrooper squads with the electro binoculars. It was my best choice, and I'd rather not have the medical droid so far away from me. Overall, I think if we go towards oh, yep, now we have some mines. So these little blips are going to be our mines for minefield. And then there we go. There is our deployment. So my opponent had a rebel army. It was Cassian, Jin. There was a unit of Pathfinders, an airspeeder, a bus, a couple stock standard rebel troopers, and that was about it. So if we look towards the bottom of the map first, we have a unit of Pathfinders, no heavy, along with Jin that infiltrated up to get a little bit closer to my lines. Down here, we also have his airspeeder. And then we have his bus. Oh, that's one thing I forgot. He does have C-3PO and R2-D2. They are inside the bus. Cassian is right there. For reference, he does not have his sniper config or his sniper rifle / pistol. And then 2 units of rebel troopers right there. And that is his deployment. My deployment the 4-man Royal Guardians right here, Bosk is right there, and then everything else was just kind of thrown right there. The 2 3-mans, the 2 units of Stormtroopers, the Officer, and Palpatine were all deployed right there. So that is deployment going into round 1. I played an entire Legion. He played standing orders. So everyone that was eligible to get an order got an order. And everyone who wasn't didn't. His standing orders, it went to the bus, which then onboard comlinked over to R2-D2 and C-3PO. This turn, there wasn't a whole lot of shooting, mostly moving. My unit of Stormtroopers did go into a mine. It rolled 2 damage, and then it did 2 damage, and that kind of sucked on the hostage unit. And yes, that is Lego Grogu right there, being my wonderful hostage for this game. Bosk, however, was able to get 1 shot off in the Pathfinders, which was able to suppress them and take out 2 of their models. And then he also shot Jyn, which was able to deal 3 wounds to her. 1 shot. You're probably wondering, how did Bosk do 2 shots? So, 1 naturally on this turn, and then Palpatine has pulling the strings, which lets the unit perform a move or attack action. So that's pretty cool. As this is happening, his airspeeder is moving up the field, but and the rest of his army is moving up. His fleets are moving back as we speak, but everything is going well for now for everybody. Only casualties on the board were the 2 Pathfinders, and I took some wounds on some Royal Guards, and that is about it. Moving on, very, very early game. As you can see, Palpatine kind of moved up, and it was a now you will die. I was thinking this was pretty crazy. I didn't think this was going to be worthwhile, but I ended up throwing Palp into the fray over here with the fleets in Cassian, and if we see at the end of it, Palp has taken a bunch of wounds, a bunch of suppression, his immobilized, but Cassian and that unit of fleets that were holding hostage are dead. So, pretty successful for me. And then Palpatine definitely lived longer than he had any right to, taking shots from the bus, taking shots from the rebel troopers, and taking shots from the airspeeder. But he managed to live. He got healed once, and I was able to move Royal Guards up to Guardian for him. End of round 2, Jyn takes another 2 wounds and has a lot of suppression on him. I should say Bosk obviously bountied Jyn. That's what the Seppi token is there for. If we go over, this is the end of round 2. Moving into round 3, I played Given to Your Anger because I knew I wanted to make sure Palpatine could hopefully get his activation going. I made him activate R2 and C-3PO in the bus. Since he didn't want to move them out, in line of sight of Palpatine, he just chose to pass with them, basically. And they just stayed inside the bus, but gained force suppression, but, they're droids. They don't really care. Palpatine, once again, is just living a lot longer than he had any right to do so, while his airspeeder moves up the course, moves up the field. Bosk has just been standing still, basically, along with some storms, some Royal Guards, and then the hostage unit, which lost another model. We keep going. The hostage keeps moving back. Bosk is getting his order. At this point, I've only lost 4 Stormtroopers and 5 Royal Guard. Have yet to lose a full unit. But at one point or another, Jyn does go down to Bosk. Bosk is able to claim his bounty for another victory point. And at that point, we kind of called the game. Palpatine did end up going down. He just, took way too many hits. But it was a really fun game. A lot of fun. The game ended with me having it was a 4-0 in my favor, but it was overall a really fun game. If I could do that game again, I think I would have not Palp bombed so early, maybe save that for turn 3. But I do think that maybe turn 2 wasn't the best decision. It was still a pretty good decision. It helped me win the game, and take out a unit of fleets and Cassian, even though Palpatine was definitely more expensive. The fact that I took out his command cards and that I took out his hostage unit was pretty big. So that was the end of game 1. I ended up with 1 win. So my current record is 1-0. All right, and moving on to round 2. My opponent had a very, very fun list, and it ended up being a very, very fun set of objectives, which we will get into. So I was blue player. I got the objectives ended up looking like this, with key positions, advanced positions, and rapid reinforcements. On second look at all of this, I definitely think rapid reinforcements was a mistake to have in my battle deck for sure, and you guys will see that in a moment. So here are our key positions. There is a small tree or a big tree in the right. You can see it kind of edging up on the top of the screen right there to the left. That is his home objective. The middle objective is this large tree in the middle, and this little shrubbery down here is my home objective. Here's the thing. I would have loved to pick that rock. However, key positions dictates that your objectives must be at least range 1, more than range 1 away from each other. That rock was barely in. This log was barely in. That couldn't pick that because it overlapped. Couldn't pick any of that. Couldn't pick that tree because it overlapped. So my only real choices were that little shrub or that shrub. And either was not the greatest of decisions, because it would be able to put his Magna Guards within about 2 turns a run away from me. And while this list does certainly pack a punch at range, it is not that great at packing that big of a punch so quickly. It can, but it's not super horribly effective. But I digress. Moving on to deployment, he was playing the CIS. He was playing Kraken, triple Magna, 2 spider droids, not ion, but flamethrowers, which I loved, because I love the flamethrower spiders. You just don't see them very often, because everyone's all like, yes, ion. But flamethrower's super good. Red and a white spray, that's great. He also had 5 B1 units, 1 all naked except for 1 with HQ uplink. So that's his deployment, and that is my deployment. One thing about this deployment, though, is that if you see, there's Kraken, and then he has 2 Magnas and Rapid. I have my full unit of Royal Guards in deployment, and then there's my Rapid Reinforcements. So that was Kraken, and there's my officer. Kraken has Sharpshooter too, and he could see just a little smidge of my officer, which I realized later that was a bit of a mistake on my part. I should have moved her over more. And also another thing you might be seeing is that it's advanced positions, and I did not move a single model forward. My speed 1 that it so rightfully deserved. And I totally forgot about advanced positions giving you Scout 1. And funny enough, talking with my opponent, he thought I was big braining him, trying to think that maybe he'll forget because so the Magna doesn't move speed 1 up. But to be honest, it was not big brain. It was me being more of like a small brain, because I totally forgot. And if I did, I would have loved to move some guys up speed 1. But I didn't, and that's fine. But Kraken can't see my officer, and well, if you've ever played Super Tactical Droids, and that's your only, hero unit that provides command cards, you definitely have Orbital Strike in your command hand, which he did. And he Orbital Struck? Orbital Struck? Is that the word for it? That sounds right. My officer, 4 damage, and I was like, oh darn, that's probably gonna kill her. But the beautiful thing about this list is that your Royal Guards don't have to just protect Bosk and Palpatine. So I just Guardian 1 onto a Royal Guard, he blocked it, and then I rolled 3 for the officer, which means she could get pretty banged up, but she'll be fine. And she ended up taking 3 wounds after that point, which is fine. He played Orbital Strike. I played, if it's somewhere on the map, I don't recall what I played. I think I played Lying in Wait. I think that's what I played. Maybe we see it. Nope, not quite. But end of turn 1, Kraken has a bunch of suppression and 2 wounds. His Magnas have deployed up. These 2 Magnas were the ones in Rapid. And while my Royal Guard are kind of like behind this rock right here. And the spiders are moving up at a very, very, very fast pace. Quite terrifying. Bosk is fine, and one of my Royal Guards has taken a wound. Moving forward, another very early turn 2, and now you will die. So Palpatine's right there. He bursts of speed twice into this whole mess of Magnas and Flame Spider. And he wipes the unit off the board and then immobilizes both these units. And my thought process was, oh, they're not going to move. They can't move this turn. Great. Which isn't great in theory. However, if I could go back and change this, I probably would have just, and once again, I talked about this with my opponent afterwards, I should have just outright tried to kill this unit because they had, they might as well, you know, stop them in their tracks, and Palpatine was going to die anyways. I mean, with 5 units of B1s, with Kraken, and all these droids, he's not going to live, especially since he took max wounds to do max stacks. To go further on, Palpatine does die. The spiders do move up, and one of my Royal Guard units does unfortunately get destroyed very, very quickly. We're going to keep going down the order. A unit of Stormtroopers gets flamed and totally eviscerated. I'm moving some troops up the board, but they're getting hammered by the B1's critical onslaught. Or not critical, they're crit rolling onslaught. Bosk is able to claim the bounty on Kraken. Last turn, Kraken did indeed panic, and Bosk was able to secure the bounty on Kraken, which was pretty cool of him to do. Moving forward, the Magnas were brought down to just one Magna left standing, but also just Bosk. At this point in the game, I only had 5 models left. I had Bosk, an officer, 2 stormtroopers, and a Royal Guard. Not exactly great. But, so I ended up losing the game 3-1. He claimed all of the objectives, but Bosk was able to hold on to his bounty. But unfortunately, I did lose this game. And that means my record going into round 3 was 1-1, which isn't bad, but still not the greatest. But this was an absolutely fantastic game. It really did come down to the wire, even though I had so little models. We had like 30 minutes at the end for like the last round. We just sat down and talked and did math, trying to figure out, is it even possible for me to win? And we did the math, and I don't recall, I think I was about 80 points shy if I was able to kill the Magna and get to the point. Or no, it was definitely more than 80 points. It's like 100 points, kill points shy. Because I would have killed Kraken and 3 Magnas, and he would have killed Palpatine, bunch of Royal Guards, Stormtrooper unit, yada, 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 yada. So it was a really, really good game, and probably one of my favorite games to date, to be honest. But without further ado, let's move right along into round 3. Alright, this is round 3. Once again, I am blue player, but before we really get into this, I do want to say, guys, make sure you enter the giveaway for DJARIN. Once again, by the time this is posted, it's going to be the last day to enter, and the winner is going to be announced next week. Do enter. Just comment on this video, like, subscribe. For the prompt for this video, we're going to make it, what is your favorite creature from Star Wars? If I had to pick one, it would definitely be like that gigantic space monster in Solo, because that thing just looked really cool. Kind of a spoiler, but kind of got eaten by a black hole. But, you know, it was still a really cool monster. I loved it. It was pretty cool. But moving on to round 3. So, in round 3, I am blue player. Once again, we are on this Scarif map. I love this map with all my heart. It is such a beautiful map. But I'm kind of cursed on this map. Let's show you the rest. So major offensive, minefield, and payload end up being our thing. The thing is, we deployed like all of our guys, and then we realized like, oh shoot, we never put down the mines. And because of that, we agreed clear conditions. We both totally forgot. I mean, that's on me. You know, I forgot my own card. But you know what? It was fine, and it ended up working out. We just did clear conditions. My opponent had the Iden 333 special. So 3 units of Shores, 3 mortars, Iden, Versio, which is up there, and 3 units of Imperial Special Forces, one of them being Inferno Squad. I have Bosk on there. Bosk was barely able to fit on there, and we had plenty of times where he fell down in round 1, but we ended up just nudging him forward a bit, but, you know, moving him back to about the halfway mark whenever we did line of sight or range. Most of my army is deployed right here, but my 4-man Royal Guard unit and my Med Droid unit right here were placed kind of preemptively because I expected Palpatine to end up running up and around. which, I mean, he kind of did, and you'll see. Round 1, I go with Given to Your Anger. He does Coordinated Fire. And actually, funny enough, before this game, me and my opponent actually were discussing his list. And he was saying, yeah, I mean, this list is a really good Alpha Strike. You have Coordinated Fire, you play that turn 1, then you play Tac Strike turn 2. And I was like, oh, yeah, it seems like a pretty solid strategy. And then we ended up getting paired together, and I felt really bad because I knew exactly what he was going to play the first 2 rounds. I mean, easy enough to, like, kind of guess almost with Iden 333, but still I was kind of like, it was kind of like a feels bad where it's like, all right, well, I know what you're going to play. I can just outbid you, make sure I go first. But Given to Your Anger was probably the best card to play at this moment. Yeah, except round 1 didn't go fantastic. Round 1, Bosk died while only killing 3 members of a short trooper unit. So they still had their heavy. No. Yeah, they still had their heavy. And it was like, in the 1 shot, and in the 2nd shot, he just killed the heavy. So the unit never even died. They had 1 man left. And then, honestly, after this, the entire game fell apart. I hadn't played any of Bosk's cards. It was over before it started. Bosk took a lot of hits. I knew he was going to get a lot of suppression from the 3 mortars, from the ISF, from the shores, so I let him take 3 wounds. Just like let it happen. All right, 3 damage, I'll roll 3 dice. Oh, he takes 3 wounds. Cool, clear suppression. Which is great and all, in theory, but I end up running out of I run out of uses of Protector, run out of uses of his Force Barrier, and the critical machine started rolling, and it ended up, we talked about this, me and my opponent, for this round, and if Bosk just after he took the 3 wounds, if he just saved one time, and it was like a few damage after, like the 4 times, if he just rolled like 1 die difference, including a regenerate, he would have lived, because I had barely died. But even being barely dead is still dead, and Bosk was defeated. And after that, the game kind of went down, really, really downhill. I moved my royal guards up in like a desperate move to try and like get them into melee, and then they were eviscerated off the board. Really, really bad defense rolls on them. At this point, Palpatine is trying to move up the map. I end up using Burst to get him across, and I had set to play Standing Orders for 2 turns in a row, while he played Push and what is this one? Pulse Scan? Yes, Pulse Scan. And his whole army just starts moving up as his payload moves up. And mine payload is also moving a little bit. It's just off screen, but it is there. We keep on going. There's my payload, and eventually I play And Now You Will Die. And what happens is he has short troopers. He wins, or he doesn't win priority, but I don't want to go first. So what happens is these short troopers up here, they round the corner, and they shoot Palp, and they do like 2 damage to him, which A, sucks, and B, it was like, all right, whatever. And there are a 5-man unit, and they have no cover. And Palp heals 1 from the Stormtrooper heal bot, and then he lightnings them. And they ended up living with 1 dude left, and I'm like, well, I don't want to lightning them again. Like, all right. And then Palpatine just moves up, and he lightnings. And yeah, everyone's just moving up. And at this point, I'm just throwing bodies. My officers in melee. My last royal guards in melee. My soul stormtroopers in melee. And it is just not great. I end up losing. It was 1-0. It was, even though I was getting absolutely, I was getting crushed, I was, getting it handed to me pretty good in this game. It was still a lot of fun. My opponent was really, it was really good. It was a really, good sport about it. I wasn't saying like, and we were talking, and it's like, yeah, it's a feels bad when you just get hammered and crushed. But, what goes around comes around. Maybe I'll, be able to start crushing some folks with this army. We'll see. The Lizard Wizard is certainly a lot of fun, and I'm definitely going to be running it more in the future, and maybe even in the near future. You guys will see. But it is a lot of fun. So let's just get right into what I was able to receive from this tournament. All right, so after everything was all said and done, I went 1 and 2 at the tournament in Fortress of Gaming in Albany, New York. It was a lot of fun. Highly recommend if you're in the area. Check this out on upcoming tournaments on the Star Wars Legion Discord. It is a lot of fun. We got a bunch of cool promo cards and specially printed cards. So I received the Blizzard Force cards, custom printed. They're shiny, which is pretty cool. A custom version of Take That Clankers, a custom version of Change of Plans, and a custom version of I'm Your Worst Nightmare, along with a custom Standing Orders. Along with some parts of the store kit for the Diayoga? Wait, what is this called? Whatever this little monster thing is called. Diayoga, whatever. The Unnatural Resources set. I got a copy of Force Push. I got a Rival Maul custom card. And a few things that were part of the Dynamic Exit and the Unnatural Resources tournament play kits. And I am very grateful to have received those. I actually got a version of the Dynamic Exit also in French, which was cool because I took French way back in high school. And I can tell you like 4 words, although I will not tell you guys which 4. But it was overall a really great experience, and I will definitely be going there again for their next tournament. But one thing I wanted to add in to this video is a little hint about what the next video is going to be. The next video is going to be announcing who wins the giveaway and also giving a revised version of the Wizard Lizard list and how it can be better. You guys will be seeing that video coming up soon. So, without further ado, I hope you all have a absolutely fantastic day. Don't forget to enter in the giveaway. Today is the last day to do so. What is your favorite creature from Star Wars? Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. And, well, peace.